This is Coach Lee, and I'm going to share 7 mistakes after a breakup if you want your ex back. Some of these might be new and some of them might be a review to you if you've seen my other videos, but watch because it's good to review and you'll probably pick up some things you didn't already know or think about in the same way. The first mistake is to beg or plead with your ex to take you back. Now stay with me on this one because it is a good thing to give some pushback when they tell you they want to break up. Unless you saw it coming. Now, if this was something that had just been drifting down and you two had been working, it's best to take that break and to just pull back and give them the breakup right at that moment. Most people don't do that, but that would be the ideal thing. But if it's something that was out of nowhere, then giving some pushback, telling them you disagree, even asking them to reconsider is not something that will hurt you long term. It's when you keep doing it and you refuse to give them the breakup. That's when you can do the most damage. And begging and pleading, it really lowers your attraction. It makes your ex your dictator because basically what you are doing and demonstrating and saying to them is that you don't have any power. It's sort of like the government. They can take whatever you have if they want to, and you can do nothing about it but ask for mercy because you don't have an army at your disposal. All you can do is ask for mercy because you are powerless. It's not a good position to be in. And you don't want your ex thinking that you are powerless because it's not attractive and it will lower your attraction. So don't beg, don't plead, do your best at this point, even if you haven't so far. Now's the time. Give them the breakup. That doesn't mean you announce it. You don't have to text them and say, I'm giving you the breakup. You just disappear. You stop talking to them about it. You stop talking to them at all, which is another mistake, is that you stay in contact. But you give them the breakup. You don't fight it. It's almost as though you're just going along with it and you're going to move on with your life and that chapter is over. That's the picture you want to paint to your ex and not be cold about it, not be negative or sad simply because you live a great life because that's attractive. That's what you want to project because that's what you want. You project it and then you walk into it, so to speak. So that's the first mistake, begging or pleading. So if you're doing that, stop that. Number 2, as I've already mentioned, is when you stay in contact with them. And this is a mistake, even though I talk about it a lot. I talk about the no contact rule in most of my videos. People still tend to fall for the bait of contacting their ex because it feels like it will do something. Now, at some point, you reach this spot in it all where you have nothing to lose. And so it would be silly for me to just sit here and tell you, no, never, ever, ever contact them again. Ideally, that's what I would suggest you do. That's what you should try to do. But once you reach a certain point, and it's somewhere around 2.5, 3.5 months of no contact, you reach a point of diminishing returns. And so you might as well contact them if you just can't move on, just to see. And that's just me being real and human instead of being idealistic like some other coaches do, which that's fine. That's just what I do here, is try to be as real as possible. So the importance of not contacting them is that they actually have to experience life without you, and they don't get to just assume you're in backup plan mode. Because reaching out to contact them, actually showing that effort, in most cases, even if they couldn't put it into words, it reassures them that if they ever reach a point where they think the breakup was a mistake, they could get you back if they wanted to. That's what it tells them, because contacting someone, asking how they're doing, how was your day, how are things going, all that kind of stuff, it instinctively suggests your interest in them. And it relieves mystery. Even if you don't tell them a lot of details, even if you simply say hello, you're still in many ways assuring them that you are still obtainable, that you are still there and available. And it relieves any concern they might have that you're moving on. So that's where the silence, where they have to actually look at their phone, find that last text, or however it is you communicate, and see that it's been 37 days. Wow, it's been over a month. You need that moment to happen. It's an amazing moment. And I talk to a lot of people who have been the dumper, and they tell me about that moment. I looked at my phone and I realized I hadn't heard from him in so many days, so many weeks, so many months. And it has a pointed effect on them. It is a moment that hits them with reality. And that's what you want. so that they have to actually experience the consequences of the breakup. And so you're totally spinning your wheels if you're not giving them the breakup, because they don't get to see the negatives of it, which means there's really no motivation for them to come back to you, especially if they're getting the breakup and getting the positives of the relationship at the same time. So if you're in contact with them, you're giving them intimacy, which is a human need. You're giving them comfort in thinking that you are right there for the taking if they want you. You're boosting their ego, that even though they have dismissed you, they've broken up with you, that you are still right there like a little puppy dog by their side, just waiting for crumbs from their table. So there's very little good you could possibly accomplish and a mountain of negative if you stay in contact. Trust me on that. If I hadn't seen it thousands of times, I wouldn't be telling you that no contact is the way that you can give yourself the best chance of getting your ex back in most situations. Take a quick second and subscribe to this channel so you can be notified when I have more videos like this. The third mistake I'm going to talk about is accepting friendship. And a lot of times an ex will do this because they know it will make them feel more secure. And they will say, well, let's still be friends, or I want to be friends, because they actually still feel something for you, or they feel really guilty, which is a normal response because they know they've hurt you. That usually means there's some good in them. But the friendship part of it will actually relieve some of that guilt, which you don't want. You want them to feel guilty if it's natural. Now, if you're trying to manipulate that, that's where you can become a source of negativity for them and they won't want to be near you. But an ex thinking about you hurting can be a good thing. I'll get into more of that later. But you don't want to accept friendship because it will do the same thing that staying in contact with them will do. It will make them feel like you are right there for the taking, that all they have to do is reach out and pluck you off the tree again. And that's not something you want them to feel. You want there to be some concern and those consequences of the breakup so that they can actually get to experience the breakup and realize they don't want it. And that's so key. If you make it easy on them, you will enable them to break up with you and continue with the breakup and eventually get on with their life and move on with their life. The next mistake, that is killer to your chances. So you want to stop it if you're doing it. And if you're thinking about it, here's your warning not to do it. And that is social pouting. That's where you post one of those deep memes or those images where it's a picture of some mountain or some ocean, and it's got some deep thought that you're arriving at this conclusion because someone has deeply hurt you, but now you've risen out of the ashes, that kind of thing. Whereas you might feel that way, and you might want to share that with people. If you're being honest with me, you kind of want your ex to see it, and you want them to think that you are at a place where either you are out of the pain and you're feeling good about things and you've had some realization and they could lose you, or you're wanting to get at them, to hit back for the breakup. Like, how dare you hurt me? You think you can trust people. In these times, you realize who's loyal to you. That kind of thing. Don't do that, because it will feel like to your ex that you are making an attempt to get them back. If your ex feels that they are still getting to you, that you are still hurting, that's where they feel like they are still in your head, that they could still get you back, that you still want them back, and we need them to be concerned that maybe you're not. So even if it's a negative, even if you are saying to them, you hurt me and I'm not happy with you, it's still showing them that they're getting to you. And it looks like you're trying to get their attention, like you're trying to speak to them, and so you're breaking no contact. So don't social pout if you want the best chance of getting your ex back. In fact, social media can be a tool in that if you post very rarely, or you just don't post at all for a long time, those things can be useful. I do have videos on that. But you can also simply post pictures of you with friends having a good time. Not that you're just tearing down the club and no one has ever had as good of a time as you have had this night. Don't do things like that either, because we all know that that's not real life. And your ex will know that, and it will look like you're trying to build yourself up, which really lowers your attractiveness because it looks like you're trying to make something out of nothing. So don't do that. Be casual and fun, friends with pictures, and I'll get into some other things about social media in this video. Number 5 is asking your friends about your ex. Now, there are two more mistakes I'm going to mention and a bonus, so stick around. But this one is very important because a lot of times people will think, well, this person is my friend, and so they're not going to hurt me or hurt my chances with my ex. If only you had seen what I have seen over the last 2 decades. People who you think won't hurt you will because they think they can help you. And I've said this before, I'll say it again. People often overestimate their ability to help you in this situation. Do you have any idea how many times people have told me, well, I was talking to a friend of mine and she reached out to him and told him how much I was hurting and that I had talked to her and that I was having such a hard time with this breakup. And that hurt her chances significantly with her ex-boyfriend. Things like that. I hear that so often because most people, even people who after a breakup will find one of my videos, they still have this concept that if they can just have a little talk, if they can have a good solid talk with their ex, they can get them back. And so since people think that, they think they can do that for you. Well, I'll just go talk to him. I'll just go tell him he should take her back because she's hurting so much. But that's not going to do that. That's not going to make attraction rise. Your pain, unfortunately, is not attractive. And I know that hurts to hear. It sounds harsh, but you need and deserve to know it is your strength that is attractive. And so your friends, even if they have good motivations, can really hurt you. And then there's the situation where maybe your friend has interest in this person and they run you down. It's weird how your friends can sometimes hurt you, whether they intend to, or it gives them opportunity to think, well, the relationship's over. I might as well swoop in. And if I hadn't seen it, I wouldn't be telling you about it. So try to leave as many people out of this as possible. Try to talk to neutral people, like one of the coaches on my staff, or maybe your parents. But be really careful because I've even heard of parents contacting the ex. Because your parents, as you hopefully have learned, are some of the only people who truly have your back in most situations in life. And so if your parents are still alive, which count that as a blessing in most situations, be careful because if they see you in a lot of pain, they might try to fix it themselves, similar to some of your friends. And so I suggest that you talk to people who are more neutral. And that could be a friend who does not know your ex at all, who has no way to contact them. That's maybe something you could consider. But just be careful who you trust because no one is more dangerous than the ignorant person trying to help you. Take a quick second and check out my emergency breakup kit. There's a link to it in the description below. It's the culmination of my 20 years in the breakup coaching service. So take a look. The link is in the description below this video. Or you can simply go to myexbackcoach.com. That's myexbackcoach.com. And now on to number 6. Social bragging. I touched on this earlier, but going the opposite direction. So I mentioned earlier that you shouldn't post these pictures that show how deeply sad you are or how you've learned a lesson about how some people just really let you down and hurt you. How you shouldn't do that, but you should also not do the opposite, which is, wow, as of today, no one has ever had a better life than me. That can go against you strongly. Or posting that you have just closed down the club that no one since the Hangover movies have ever had as much fun and alcohol as you did that night with those awesome people, and it is now the stuff of legend. Your ex will call BS on that because it will look like you're trying to get at them. And whenever you're trying to get at someone, it means that they have gotten to you. And it looks like you're trying to get them back. Like you're trying to get their attention on social media. It lowers your level of attraction. Mystery is really what you want to go with on social media, where you show some times with friends, they're casual, you're in a group of people, because your ex is really not sure what's going on with all that if they're looking at your social media. And then take a break from posting. You're busy, you have a great life, and that is very apparent when you don't feel the need to post it constantly. So avoid social bragging if you want to get back together with your ex. Number 7. This is a big time mistake, but movies and people who think they really know their stuff will tell you that it will be helpful, but it won't be. It's trying to make your ex jealous. And so you go out on a date with a stranger and you take pictures and you post it online, or you tell people about your date hoping it'll get back to your ex, or in perhaps the worst thing you could possibly do, you send your ex pictures of the date, or say, I went on a date last night, or whatever. It will be so obvious to your ex that you're trying to make them jealous. And even if you're not trying to make them jealous, if you get that information back to them, or it looks like you're trying to get them to see that you went on a date or whatever, it will look like you're trying to make them jealous. And the thing is, it won't actually make them jealous. It will make them feel like you're trying to get them back. Now, they might get upset, but most people have found that when their ex gets upset, it actually blows up in their face. And the ex thinks, well, this is really soon for you to jump back in a relationship. And yes, your ex will probably be hypocritical in this situation. That even though they've broken up with you, that they're just appalled that you went out with somebody this soon after. And I get that that's problematic, that that's like, well, then they can get over it. But again, if you want your ex back, let's stay focused here. If you try to make them jealous, usually it blows up in your face. I have videos on that because a lot of people will simply think, oh, well, they've got somebody else. There's no need for me to reach out. They've moved on already. And just because there are some situations where it might get some contact from your ex, it might actually move them closer in terms of getting the consequences of the breakup, it usually doesn't. It usually just makes you look bad. Again, I'm just being honest with you. I know the movies and some of your friends will present it as, oh yeah, make him jealous. But it just almost never really works out that way. So keep that in mind. Don't do that. Mystery's better. And if it looks like you're trying to make them jealous, you just lower your own attractiveness. So keep that in mind. And now I'm going to tell you the bonus. The bonus mistake, which is an interesting phrase. The bonus mistake is threatening self-harm. It's a big mistake. It will not make you look more attractive. It will actually lower your attractiveness, but it's also very manipulative. And if you really want to harm yourself, you need to contact the National Suicide Hotline, and the number to that will be in the description below. So be sure to subscribe to this channel and don't make these mistakes in the future if you want your ex back.